This is Hangin' with the Talkin Cowboys break.
Streaming live on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Well, breaking news coming out of the Star in Frisco here today on a Thursday. Rob Phillips, joined by Mickey Spagnola, David Hellman, Nick Eatman, Kent Garrison producing. We've got a new offensive coordinator here with your Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if this is a huge shock, but it is now official. Kellen Moore, the new OC for your Dallas Cowboys, and Jon Kitna, the new quarterbacks coach. Jerry almost tipped his hand last night on the fan. Just almost.
Almost? Or just did?
Kind of did.
Yeah.
He stopped himself and said, Jason will probably be sending this out pretty soon. Very quickly.
We got a definition of soon then, didn't we?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I'm surprised in the sense that I thought this would happen Monday or Tuesday after the Super Bowl.
Me too.
Maybe the firmness. Jerry Jones literally last night said,
"How to do it?"
Said, "I'm gonna let Jason make an announcement here soon, but I won't be surprised if Kellen Moore is heavily involved in making the play calls on the field next year, or ultimately has the full responsibility." Like, that's what he said.
He's gonna let Jason do it.
Said he's gonna let Jason make the announcement, except not really.
Not really.
And he didn't want to take away from the Super Bowl.
Except not really.
Except he always does.
Right?
Anthony Davis already did that in the NBA. That kind of trumped him on Monday. But hey, this is big news regardless, Nick.
Yeah, it is big news, and there's a big question out there about what's going to be different. What's different? Because Linehan and Kellen Moore were always connected together, but what's he going to be able to do to call these plays that are different? And hopefully, it's get Dak Prescott more involved as a runner, in my opinion, just to be able to do more things that he's good at. So that's what I'm hoping we'll see out of Kellen Moore now. Have you guys ever been in a bowling class in college?
Yeah, I almost failed it.
Yeah.
Swear to God.
Because what probably happened is you're supposed to go out there and throw like a 44 to start it off. And then from the rest on, it's like, well, you can only get better from there, and that's how you're graded. Went out 7 points in the Pro Bowl. No one's expecting much. Can only get better from that. But I do like the flea flicker he called in the
You do like your flea flickers. How
about the snap to Zeke?
Yeah, all that.
I can't grade a guy on a game where running backs were rushing the passer.
A lot of people did.
I know.
A lot of people did.
Less than 150 yards and 7 points in a game designed to score points and not be real football is not good. But it's so far removed.
When he got his quarterback in, they went down and scored.
Damn right they did.
It's Russell Wilson's fault. It's Mitch Trubisky's fault.
Get out of here, Mitch Trubisky. It's interesting. I mean, to your question, like I don't know. I've heard, Travis Frederick had a glowing endorsement of his football IQ. His coaches at Boise State have been quoted recently. Dak Prescott is obviously his biggest fan going all the way back to 2016. But how can you sit here and know for sure one way or the other if it's going to look different? I mean, I think it would be disingenuous to just rave that it's going to be this vast departure. I don't expect it to be a huge departure. I think this hire makes a lot of sense for the type of things that Jason Garrett likes to do. I think he wants familiarity. I think he wants a guy that he knows well and can work with. Doesn't mean Kellen Moore won't be able to have his own ideas, but I don't think Jason Garrett wants to go out and hire some guy he's never met to be in charge of his offense, especially if he's got 1 year left on his contract. So I don't know. It's curious. I don't know what to expect, but I'm willing to have an open mind that Kellen Moore can bring some new stuff to the table for sure.
I think we have to see how it pans out. I mean, it's one thing to have a title. It's another thing to see how much authority you have. And he's not going to sit in his office just, and be an independent contractor and start, drawing up some extravagant things in the offense. Jason Garrett's going to be heavily involved in the game planning during the week. And putting the scheme together. Now, Kellen may call the plays, but remember, Jason has a headset on, just like he had a headset on when Linehan was here. And you can talk on the headset to each other. So it's not like this guy's going to Kellen's going to just have free reign to do whatever nilly-willy he wants to do. Jason still can trump him on a play call. or tell them this is what we're going to do. We scripted this stuff, picked that play from that situation to call now. And so I still think he'll have a heavy hand in developing what the game plan is for Sundays.
Yeah, and I think, well, Jason loves to use the word collaborative. Jerry used it last night, too. I think we've heard way too much talk about Doug Nussmeier. Jon Kitna, kind of gets buried under the Kellen Moore news, but he's officially on the staff as the quarterback's coach.
Yep.
Jerry Jones, I don't want to say surprising, but I thought it was noteworthy how often Jerry Jones brought up Mark Colombo as a guy whose ideas he's interested in. My main point being is I think Mick's right. I think there's going to be a lot of people involved in this. I think it's kind of, Kellen Moore might ultimately call the plays. He's the offensive coordinator. I think there's going to be a lot of voices involved in putting the plan together.
Jerry spoke to that yesterday on The Fan. He called it a collaborative effort, and he said he wants these young coaches, I think he said he wants them, figuratively step in front of the train, bring some new ideas to the table, try to figure out ways to get this offense better than it was last year. And I know Mickey and I discussed this on Talkin Cowboys. I know on the break you guys have too. I mean, no question the offense improved, not coincidentally with Amari Cooper there down the stretch, but there's still room for growth there, a lot of room for growth there. When you look at the offenses that made it to the Final Four this season in the AFC and the NFC, they were more prolific over the course of the entire season than this Dallas offense. No question about it.
Yeah,
and then the Saints scored 23 points.
I don't really care about that. I'm talking about the entire macro view of it.
I gotcha.
But the Rams defense was good, and I don't know what took them so long to kind of get there. But I mean, their defense is like finally turned. All the guys they had brought in and all the money they had paid for, they finally played like it there in the playoffs. And really shut down. And we saw the Saints. I mean, the Saints got shut down by a Cowboy defense as well. So that stuff happens. But you're right, Rob. The red zone's got to get better. Got to get more consistent there. And I think they need help at tight end. I mean, I think everyone thinks that they need to get help at tight end. But I think the tight end will help with the red zone if you can get a real blocking tight end who can catch.
Yeah.
Or how about just a tight end who's played 10 games in the NFL?
Yeah,
that would help too.
And so now you've got
unless
he's
a second round pick
actually played, right? You played with 3 tight ends after Swain got hurt that had never played in the NFL.
But that's another thing that's got to change here, in my opinion. Drop the arrogance. I mean, drop the we do what we do and we're going to put in. Just because you put TE next to the guy's name doesn't mean they're real tight ends. And they went into last year thinking we don't need a number 1 receiver. Watch this. We don't really need we can replace Witten with this. And that's not true. Now they scrambled halfway through the year to get a first-round pick receiver, and I think they need to get it. I mean, just quit acting like you got it all figured out.
Well, that's what they do.
But to their credit, they figured out halfway through we got to do something with Cooper. And Dak even spoke to this on The Fan today. We'll get to a cut from him about Kellen later, but he said, I wasn't comfortable early in the season because we had it wasn't like guys weren't trying to get open or getting open, but we were shifting guys in and
18
out.
18 receivers out there.
He said I needed consistency with the rotation, and that's what they figured out.
And they should have played more in preseason because this wasn't an established team.
The
first team offense needed to play. And they just assume, okay, now this season opener, and we're going to turn it on, and we got everything figured out and scored 8 points.
That's a whole nother conversation. I mean, if you want to go all the way back to August, 3/5 of the offensive line is missing. Travis Frederick's being diagnosed with autoimmune diseases. There were some factors there. We're good.
Isn't the Rams, and I don't know this because I'm kind of on the fence when it comes to the preseason stuff, but wasn't the Rams the team that did play absolutely nobody?
They sat a lot of guys.
And then start off well. So, I think there's cases for both. But
well, no, what I was going to say to your point is, okay, they deserve credit for recognizing the problem with Amari Cooper. They also deserve plenty of blame for feeling okay that was a good idea. The tight end thing, I'm not as willing to kill him for. We talked about this on the break the other day. It kind of gets swept under the rug. Jason Witten did them no favors.
Timing, yeah.
No favors whatsoever. You wake up on Friday morning and find out you might not have your starting tight end Friday morning of the NFL draft. Like, that's when they knew for sure that they weren't going to have him. Like, that's crappy timing. So I don't want to kill them for being arrogant there. I think they probably got caught a little flat-footed.
And just in hindsight, Philadelphia got him by 1 pick. But would you have wanted them to take Goddard?
No. And it's a gigantic myth. I think they were always interested in Connor Williams. Maybe Philly was being preemptive because they thought the Cowboys might draft Dallas Goedert, but we'll go fire up the audio of the phone calls they were having.
But now after what you've seen in 1 year, and they're both about the same, they kind of, I would say Goddard got better as the year went on, and Connor kind of had a little up and down. Now after everything that's happened, and you really haven't fixed tight end, and you got Suafilo in the mix.
I think you can address it this year, though, because it's early. But looking at the draft, it's pretty rich in tight ends. I mean, you could go find one.
Do it.
Even without.
And is he going to come in here and be able to block when you go 2 tight ends? Because that was their problem.
Yeah.
They stuck with that 2 tight end thing because that's what we do, but the 2 tight ends couldn't block. And let's not kid ourselves. At the end of Witten's career, he wasn't exactly a block of granite out there blocking.
I'm very comfortable having a guy who can start at left guard or theoretically maybe help me address my tackle problems. That's another conversation. Which, to your point, that's the biggest thing for me with Kellen Moore, and that's what we're here to talk about in the first place. Is I agree with you. Like I think one of this team's biggest problems, you can call it confidence, you can call it arrogance. Like Jason Garrett's whole deal is like, if we do what we do to the best of our abilities, we can beat anybody, and it just wasn't true a lot of the times last year. It hasn't been true
From a personnel standpoint.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, but if you don't have the personnel to line up and win, you got to scheme ways to do it otherwise. I thought, it drove me crazy, and I know Tavon Austin was hurt for a lot of the year, but again, you go back, I hate to compare them to the Rams because the Rams are the best offense in football, but they don't do anything that's that complex. They make it look complex, and then they run simple looks out of complex-looking schemes. I mean, I've said it 10 million times. I'm sorry. Motioning receivers, orbit motions into the backfield, moving your running backs. I would like to see more of that because this big boy attitude of our best will beat your best, when it works, it's awesome. But it doesn't work a lot of the times, and it gets you beat. And I hope Kellen Moore can change some of that.
And if you look at that mentality, the quarterback obviously matters there, because when you think back to 2014, they were doing that. They were running over people with DeMarco Murray, and Romo was the quarterback, and they rushed for 1,800 yards. And then in 15, Romo gets hurt, and Kellen Moore was one of the quarterbacks, and Whedon and Castle and those guys, and they were the worst 3rd-and-1 team in the league because they couldn't really knock people off the ball. So, and then they got back in 16, and they were doing it again. Having quarterback presence obviously helps with that offensive line, and so, I'm not saying anything that no one doesn't know. I mean, Dak's got to play well for the offense to do well.
And he needs also not to get sacked 56 times.
You want to hear a cut from Dak Prescott today?
Yeah, I'd love to hear him.
What do we got, Kent? This is on the Fan earlier. Dak Prescott asked about Kellen Moore before the announcement was made.
I mean, he's honestly one of these young genius phenoms in the game, and just what he knows, the way, obviously he knows the football that we've been playing and kind of where the game's been going, the more on the ball or whatever it is that the style of play you want to call it. But he's special. He's special. He knows a lot about the game, just the way he sees the game, the way he's ahead of the game. He can bring a lot to us, a lot of creativity, something we need.
And by the way, that's not lip service either. Dak's been saying that for 3 years, that Kellen has called him a genius before. I think he trusts him, and he appreciates the help Kellen gave him as a rookie when Kellen lost his job to injury as the backup, and then ultimately Dak took over as the starter. There's a trust factor there. There's no question in trying to figure out a solution once they parted ways with Scott Linehan. I'm sure Dax was asked, what do you think about this? And I'm sure he's comfortable with it.
And that goes back to my point. You're right. It's not lip service. Dak loves Kellen Moore. And I mentioned it earlier. You can go find the audio on Twitter. Travis Frederick said some really glowing stuff about Kellen in a radio interview a week or so ago. Really insightful stuff. But so is it lip service? No, because I think they believe it. But I haven't seen it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And that doesn't mean he can't do it. It doesn't mean he's not a phenom. But I feel weird sitting here talking up, his credentials. I have no idea. We talked about that all year long. Is people were mad at Kellen because he's inexperienced. He's too young to be Dak's quarterback's coach. I'm sitting here like, I don't know.
What do we have? We have the Pro Bowl.
We have the Pro Bowl and footage of him sitting on the sideline with Dak. That's really all we've got to go on.
True, and that is fair because Wade Wilson was the quarterback's coach for 15 years, and you can't really say that you ever saw much there. I mean, yeah, he had guys go to the Pro Bowl. Yeah, Romo did well. Was it because of Wade Wilson? He also had Chad Hutchison and Quincy Carter and Drew Henson, and sometimes that didn't work either. So, what is it's hard to really see what a quarterback coach is doing. Until they get into
until they get a really good quarterback.
Well, I've been going back and forth with people on Twitter for 2 weeks because I think it's just an interesting thought. Kellen Moore is the quarterback's coach of it. He's a young coach with a young quarterback for the Cowboys. Up and down results. A lot of people don't like him. A lot of people did not want him to get this job. Mike Kafka is the quarterback's coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. People would be doing backflips if he had been hired to be the offensive coordinator here because his quarterback just threw for 50 touchdowns and redefined what a quarterback is capable of. They have the exact same resume. They came out at the same time. They played the same number of years in the NFL and accomplished the same amount. They've been coaching in the NFL for the same amount of time.
And who coordinated that Kansas City offense?
Well, this year was Bieniemy. Andy Reid, too.
Well, here's the difference.
The head coach.
Where did Kellen Moore start his career, and who did he play for?
Yeah, Scott Linehan.
And that's the thing. He's tied to Scott Linehan, and people that don't like Scott Linehan and what he did in this offense, they think with Kellen coming in, it's going to be the same thing. And I'm with you guys on the fact that it's Jason Garrett's offense, and it's been his offense since 2007. So I have a hard time believing, like Mickey calls it Star Wars, some of what we've seen throughout the league. College offenses, some of those concepts becoming more prevalent. I don't see that. I think the core of this thing's going to stay the same, but it doesn't mean that Kellen Moore can't bring something to the table and he's a clone of Scott Linehan.
No, I just hope that they realize that, gone are the days, or not gone, but this isn't your franchise stand in the pocket, Troy Aikman, Tony Romo type of quarterback. This is a guy that needs to be on the move a little bit. I think the stats speak for themselves. I don't mean he has to run 25 times a game, but he needs to run a little bit because that is what he's good at. And you have two runners that can run like that. I think they just need to think about that a little bit more.
And one thing that gives me confidence is Kellen Moore is not your prototypical quarterback. And I don't, college success clearly doesn't translate to the NFL, but he was very, very good in college despite being much smaller than average and not a runner, but a mobile-ish quarterback. He could use his feet. So I'm encouraged to think that he knows how to incorporate those types of things into calling an offense for Dak. I don't think he's going to ask him to play like Troy Aikman because he wasn't that way when he was in college.
True.
Again, and I've mentioned 5 or 6 things you can see on the internet. Another one, people pulled up his clip with John Gruden in the pre-draft process when he came out. And, it's not going to show you what he's going to be like as an offensive coordinator, but if you want to get a look into what he's like as a football mind, it's really interesting. You can find it on YouTube or Twitter, just him shooting the breeze with John Gruden about football for 3 or 4 minutes.
People saw that and they didn't know about it, and they were like, maybe this guy actually knows what he's talking about.
He's not stupid. He's definitely not dumb. Like, he knows more about quarterback than anybody listening to this podcast. So, like I said, I just, nobody likes it when you ride the fence, but I think this could be a really great hire. I don't feel confident saying it definitely will be, but I'm all right. I'm all right with it. I'm interested to see how he does.
You and I talked about something a minute ago, pre-show. It's kind of interesting. Okay, the engine of this thing is Ezekiel Elliott, right? It's a run-first offense. It always has been. And that's not going to change. I mean, he's going to be a significant part of this thing, but the Rams are an example of a team that has an elite running back that are as versatile and nimble as you can ask. So there are ways to still have Zeke as a primary piece of this thing and maybe be a little more diverse in what you do.
Yeah, Dak really killed me this morning. He's in Atlanta, Radio Row and all that stuff, and this is what he said on the radio today. They asked him about that, more pre-snap motion, more misdirection, don't be so predictable. He said it's fair for fans to have those arguments. He's like, I get that. The offense I came from, the offense Zeke came from, we do some of that. The same coaches, Dak was under Dan Mullen, Zeke was under Urban Meyer. They worked together. He said, you look around and see the pieces in the team we have. When you have a guy like Zeke and you've got a running back like that, you've got to give him the ball. You got to make sure you dominate time of possession and do that type of stuff. It takes away sometimes from the movement and all this other stuff that people are talking about. But it's about being who we are, which that last sentence, like Jason Garrett texted it to him, I'm sure.
So
I'm positive.
So what did they do in 2016?
I think, well, and that's, I
Did
think
they not have motion? Did Dak run the ball more than he did this past year? I don't think so.
It's interesting because I would argue that they did. Like, Lucky Whitehead was a fixture in that offense. Just, again, it sounds stupid to say, but he was a constant threat moving across that formation. When he got the ball, he averaged 10 yards per carry. And I don't have the stats in front of me, but I would venture a guess that he did that a dozen or so times per game.
So who was Lucky Whitehead this year?
Nobody.
Yeah.
Jordan Lewis.
That's my point.
Tavon, when he was
Because it was personnel, right? You didn't have that guy. Once you lose Tavon Austin,
You can't do that with
Cole
somebody else.
Beasley's not going to cause anybody any problems running the football at his size, right? Lucky Whitehead was a little
But
different
Why
build.
can't literally anyone else do it?
Well, who?
Gallo.
Amari Cooper.
So just
Michael
have
Gallo.
some. You want Noah Brown running a
No,
sweep?
definitely
But-
not the 6'2",
but
220 guy.
Do you remember the guy? Do you remember who kept doing it over and over for the Rams? Remember that guy?
What's his name?
Yeah, exactly. I don't
Yeah.
remember, but I just know it was
Well,
somebody.
I think Cooks was the one that wound up, which Brandon
it
Cooks
was like
is
Reynolds too.
very,
I mean,
very fast. But
And Reynolds got some deep speed, by the way.
no, he does. You're not wrong.
So,
If you're on
I
an
just
NFL,
didn't know that they had that guy, and they tried it some. It didn't
Yeah.
work very well.
well, I mean, yeah, they tried it with Jordan Lewis.
I mean, why did they beat the Cowboys? Let's face it.
Well,
They
the
ran
ball
for
like
273 yards.
Well, this isn't about the Rams game.
No, I know. I'm not saying, but that's why they didn't go to the next round.
Oh, sure.
Because if they had won that game, then everybody would have been real happy. They're in the NFC title game.
Right, but they also ran for 273 because they got the opportunity to run that much because the offense wasn't doing well either. I mean, the offense did not help them in that game, and I think everyone knows the offense. If the defense plays exactly like it plays next year, and if the offense improves, this will be a better team. Doesn't mean they'll have a better record because they sound like they have a tougher schedule.
on paper for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. It looks,
never know.
It looks terrifying right now.
There were 4 games that went down to a field goal. They won 2, they lost 2. I mean, if you win 3 out of 4, then you're sitting at a completely different record. And
Weren't they like 8-2 in games decided by a touchdown or less? Something
Yeah,
like that.
I mean,
it was ridiculous.
they did, but that whole streak down the stretch, it was close. It was all one possession games.
They only wiped out one team, right?
Right.
And they only got wiped out really once. Indianapolis, right?
Oh, yeah. I was like,
Although Tennessee wasn't close. It was 2 touchdowns.
Let's see.
I know I just disagreed with you, Mick, but like in overall, I tend to lean your way because that's, and I think a change was needed. We talked about that. The offense was trending down the last 2 years. 2016, with a lot of the same guys, they were top 5 with Scott Linehan in charge of this thing. And I think honestly the big difference was they had the personnel to bully people the way they wanted.
They had a dominant offense.
Their offensive line was much better.
That's probably the best we've
They
seen
got
the line this decade.
much better. 14 could make an argument there, maybe.
One
But
of those 2 years.
But
yeah.
They had much better personnel. The offensive line was much better. The receivers played a lot better. But I don't think they're that far away from being able to do those types of things. We'll see. And I mean, Kellen Moore is going to play a huge part in that. But
Well, he better get Travis Frederick healthy and ready to go.
that would
So-
be nice.
Just to clarify, you're kind of hinting at it. I mean, do you feel like this is more about personnel for this team going forward next season to improve more so than trying to change things
Well,
conceptually?
what was the difference between 3-5 and 7-1?
Amari Cooper?
Thank you.
That's the only reason?
The offensive coordinator didn't change, did he?
3 and 4.
Well,
offense-
but it was 3-5 at the halfway point.
I know, but Cooper lost.
And then,
the first
well, okay.
I know. I'm just saying. He
I can't fault them for going 7-1, but they still were only scoring 21 points per game in that time period. Like
They went from 20 pre-Cooper, 7 games, to about 22 in the last 11 games, counting playoffs with Cooper.
That's
and
still-
you had a goose egg in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
still bad. That's still not good.
but one of the answers to that question is also on defense too, because their best defensive player started to play. I mean, he got to really emerge. I mean, I think Van Der Esch thing really took off. Him and Jalen both just played together And I thought the defense was better in that stretch too. Amari for sure, can't forget that part. But I thought the defense was better in that stretch, and Van Der Esch was taking it to another level.
It kind of goes back to that point is like people want new, people want different. Jason Garrett's not going to do that anyway, but like I don't think you need it. I don't think you need to do a ton to make this thing a lot better. You need some new ideas. I think you need to be a little bit less predictable. You could stand to upgrade your personnel in a couple spots, but like I don't think I buy that you need this drastic overhaul to make this offense more functional. So
you need
in
Travis
that regard,
Frederick at center.
that would be nice.
You need Zach Martin playing on 2 good knees, not 1.
Although I will say, like, that is part of every single football season in the world.
I understand.
Like, every team in the league could be sitting here.
Left guard. You got your Pro Bowl left tackle playing with a knee brace on his elbow. I mean, that offensive line wasn't what everybody's used to seeing, and it showed. It brought back diminishing returns.
Let's get another running back in here.
You can't
Get another running back in here with the second round.
You can't sit here in February.
I'm okay with it.
Whoa!
You can't sit here in February and say like, well, they'll just be better though, because I mean, I have resigned myself. I love Tyron Smith to death. He's going to be dealing with these problems for the rest of his career, more likely than not. Travis Frederick, it sounds really positive. Can't bank on that until I see it.
Then get you a better backup offensive tackle.
Maybe
You did it at linebacker, right?
My point-
You backed up your ace card at linebacker. So back up your ace card on the offensive line.
Maybe Connor Williams is the backup.
Well, maybe.
You're never going to be perfectly healthy, and in those situations, you need scheme to overcome those things. And that is why this is important. It doesn't need to be a drastic departure, but if you're not equipped to line up and say our 11 are better than your 11, then there's got to be some other way you can overcome that.
The Pats are probably the best example of any team in the league that can do that.
The Pats, the Pats are in the Super Bowl with like a bunch of scraps at offensive line. It's unbelievable.
And Brady was not. I mean, Mickey talked about it on our show. There was a picture of him holding up his jersey after the game with, just
the Pats
white as can be.
The Pats spent a first-round
grass
pick.
stains.
The Pats spent a first-round pick on a guard who didn't play a snap this season, and they didn't stop them.
They're the outlier, no question about it.
I know they are.
But the Cowboys trying to take steps to improve things in-house. Kellen Moore, the new OC.
And they get to play in the AFC East.
Jon Kitna, the new quarterback's coach.
Didn't even address that.
Because he hates my argument when I bring it up.
What's that?
That they got to play in the AFC
Oh, no,
East.
he's talking
I'm
about
talking about Kitna. We didn't.
Kitna.
I'm low-key really excited about that hire.
I think it's a really good move.
It's the guy we've been saying we would like to see working with. Like, I wasn't thinking about Kitna. I was thinking, back when Luke McCown had a cup of coffee here, I wanted him to be on the team just because I was like, can we get a guy who's been through the NFL to work with Dak for a little while? And so what else could you possibly want than a guy who's played 14 NFL seasons? He's had 2 4,000-yard seasons. He's played in NFL Europe. He's coached at the high school level, so I'm confident he has seen, some of the newer things that they're doing at those levels of football over the last. He's been doing that for 6 years, so
and
it's a great hire.
And just having been around him for a couple years here, he's a good communicator. Guys listen to him. Guys follow him. He's got kind of an it factor. I think he's got communication skills along with his knowledge that will translate well to a coaching role. And he's been in a high school role for a few years now.
Yeah,
which may be the hardest coaching job.
You think so?
Out there, yeah.
Well, and his son has been a quarterback too, so he's been coaching at home, for a while too. But backup quarterbacks are always coaches. When the guy comes off on the field, what'd you see? Well, I saw this too. And Garrett did it for years with Troy. It doesn't mean you're better than the guy at all. It just means that you're giving him a different set of eyes. And so Kitna, he's always been able to kind of get it and understand his role. And he took over for Carson Palmer was drafted. He was the starter, and then he understood the deal. He just kind of gets it. I think it's an outstanding addition to this staff. I really do.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a tough sell or if that was, hey, we got this job for you.
I'm sure.
Doesn't sound like it. I think he was on a trip to the Pro Bowl real quick.
He was
that was the easy sell. You want to come down to the Pro Bowl?
He was going to be the OC for the San Diego Fleet. Now he's he's
that's a good. Well, I was going to say, I'm sure high school football coaching sounds incredibly rewarding in its own.
Yeah, hey, it's pro.
If they,
well, his last job was at a preparatory school. I think it was
last year
in Arizona.
Yeah, he was hired to be.
He hadn't actually. So just such a small world. You know who plays for the San Diego Fleet?
No. Do they play?
Gavin Escobar.
No way.
Like literally 2 weeks ago, somebody asked Escobar about Kitna because he's going to be their OC, and Gavin was like, "Well, yeah, but I mean, he just agreed to be the Cowboys quarterbacks coach." This was like 3 weeks ago. So I mean, you know, like we said at the top of the show, this has been a long time coming.
Hey, we could stir the pot and be like, what if he took Gavin to come in here and help out at tight end? Joking.
That's all right.
And that's where we ended. Good job, Nick.
Hey, they opened February 9th, by the way.
Yes.
That new league, the spring league.
No, I think it's important to mention Gavin Escobar when we say, you know what, I would draft a tight end in the second round.
That's right.
Fix this problem.
I'm not going to bring the draft show onto this, but like I'm out on tight end.
Well, I just was saying it's a deep position this year. It's pretty deep.
So you can get one in the 4th round.
But we had a mailbag question today. Blake Jarwin, they going to be better than Blake Jarwin with another year of development?
No.
Maybe not.
Very
well may not be.
Very few tight ends who aren't drafted in the top 15 do much of anything while they're rookies.
Yeah.
Very few. So pick 58. If anybody cared what I think, should be a receiver that can play inside and out.
If you said you didn't go, if you said you didn't go to the Super Bowl because you didn't have a good tight end, you had other problems.
Okay. Well.
That's not why they didn't go to the Super Bowl. That might be why the red zone isn't as good, though.
Could certainly help.
Actually, it's been not the red zone, the inside the 10-yard line zone. That's where they failed.
They were dead last in goal to go.
What's that? We should call that something. Like maroon zone? I mean, it's really red there.
Last year was the dead zone.
How can you be dead last in goal to go and have
Ezekiel Elliott?
the NFL rushing champion on your team?
Because your offensive line couldn't run
because he doesn't get the ball
over.
Yeah,
they don't give it to him as much.
I don't even buy that. Like
they didn't trust the offensive line when they got down there.
I've never seen Zeke get tackled backwards in his life.
Well, how about 4th and 1.5 at the 35?
Well, something changed because in 16 and 17 they were among the best in the league at it. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a factor as well as Joe Looney.
We love Joe, but he's not Frederick.
No.
If he was, then we'd have like a center competition every year. Like who's going to start this year?
I mean, just go look at 4th and 1.5 at the 35 and to see who got blown up.
Was it him?
Yes.
Joe.
Joe Looney did an amazing job.
He did,
but he's not the best center in football.
There's a reason why he was a backup.
And to Nick's point, then you try to do some things differently, and sometimes execution was just a factor. Cole Beasley drops a touchdown. Noah Brown, Dak misconnect on a touchdown. Cowboys aren't the only team to get cute down in the red zone.
Two of those guys, like the guys you just all right,
you forgot about that guy,
one too.
The most obscure player on the team. No one talked to him. I don't know if he talked to anybody in the media.
Y'all
just ever interviewed.
Y'all just named 3 players who aren't coming off a Pro Bowl trip.
I know
Zeke Elliott is.
I know
he never got looked at down there, and I'll just go to my grave not really knowing why.
Kent just showed a play where he did get looked at,
and he got stuffed. It was after the Olawale drop, wasn't it?
No, that was the Rams game.
Oh, Lord.
Well, maybe Kellen Moore can fix all that. And maybe Jon Kitna can help fix all that as the new quarterback's coach. Kellen Moore, new OC. Check out DallasCowboys.com for
Kellen them softly.
There it is.
You know what I mean?
Almost went with that for the headline on the site, but
didn't make sense.
Maybe we'll change it up next time. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Thanks, everybody on the crew and Kent for producing. Stay tuned throughout the offseason.
Speaking of producing,
this has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?